Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the listeners of the Good Anime Palette podcast. We are now on episode 40, and this is a little bit different because we're no longer in our usual recording studio. We've actually moved into a new place, so if things sound a little bit different, let us know. But the show must go on, so we're going to continue on with always Will and with always Jason. How are you liking the new setup so far?
New recording venue. I got a new job. I'm wearing new glasses, and you failed to notice yet again. I am being. I did this on purpose.
You son of a bitch! I actually did not see at all. I remember that now that you say it. Oh, god damn it!
I mean, these are. Look. I mean.
Oh wow! I'm gonna have to calm this down over here. This spiked the fuck up. Wow.
I mean,
don't catch me on surprise like that. Come on, man.
All right. My bad. But hey, it's your fault for not noticing. But what you might have noticed, as Will mentioned earlier, is the change in venue, which means you can also hear the aircon in the background because it's so goddamn hot in Hong Kong right now.
It doesn't help that it's heat's balanced with rain and then an hour of heat. Therefore, it just becomes not just hot but also extremely humid. So having the aircon on keeps us cool. It keeps us relatively dry. Therefore, you're going to hear a little bit of background noise. It's very minor, though. If you don't like it, let us know. Otherwise, we're just going to continue using the air conditioning because it feels a lot more comfortable now.
And Will has moved to a new place, and we are now recording at his new place. We will not disclose the location because it's top secret, confidential type stuff. But welcome to the neighborhood is all I will say.
Yeah, we're technically neighbors now.
Yeah,
which is actually really, really convenient for doing all these recordings.
It's funny because when you were considering other places, and you could just look at the expression on my face when you were considering another place that was really far away, and I was just like, no, I don't want that. And you're like, why? And I was like, because it's far away.
To be fair, though, actually looking at those places, yeah, it became very clear that this neighborhood, the current neighborhood that we are in right now, where we both live, is a lot better than the other choices that I had. So, I'm liking the new digs. I'm really enjoying it. I've been here for about a week now. So, going forward, we'll be doing all of our recordings in this location. We're going to be continuously sort of, maneuvering a couple things, trying to make sure that we have the right kind of setup environment.
Getting a feel of the environment, if you will.
Not to mention that we have some new equipment as well, and it's taking a little bit of time to get adjusted to it. So, hey, look, if it doesn't sound as normal as usual, it's because we had the same recording setup for a year and a half, and now it's time for a change, and I'm embracing this change.
And so am I, and hopefully you are ready to embrace some news because, oh wait, Will, isn't there an anime that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so just yesterday on Netflix, Kakegurui Twin dropped 6 episodes. Now, this is a spin-off manga and technically a prequel to the original Kakegurui series. And
is it same produced by MAPPA?
I believe so. So let me just get this out of the way first.
Sure.
So when you and I both have watched Kakegurui and Kakegurui XX.
That's correct. Yeah. That's season 2, yeah.
So we both loved the shit out of it.
I think the end of season 2 was a bit, iffy.
And there were reasons for it.
But overall, it was a fantastic, guilty pleasure, just fun roller coaster ride. Yeah.
So Kakegurui Twin isn't just some sort of a completely original sort of oh, you know what? You guys want more Kakegurui, but we don't want to continue making follow-up seasons, so here is just some more content to watch. No, it actually existed as a spin-off manga by the same name, which was done by Homura Kawamoto and Katsura Saiki. It's published in English by Yen Press. So I watched about halfway. I'm 2-3 episodes in, and as much as it is kind of same, different day, the problem I have with it is that and this is not a spoiler because it's all over the front page. It's all over the previews and trailers as well. It's missing the most important part of what makes me love Kakegurui.
Well, technically, because it's a prequel, that character cannot show up or can be alluded to.
And unfortunately, that's the reason why I wasn't vibing with it as much. And I get that. It's just a matter of circumstance.
So
right?
Here's something that's quite interesting with Kakegurui Twin, the manga. It is rated higher than the original Kakegurui manga by 0.1. 1, something like
Very
that.
marginal.
It's marginal.
It's almost the same at this point.
But usually with these spin-offs, they are kind of just a whatever thing, and they're usually ranked lower than their main counterpart. So to see it kind of be at the same kind of rank is quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened before, right?
For sure.
Isn't it, was it a certain magical index or Railgun?
Well, Railgun is way better than Index in terms of score and my opinion.
And Railgun is technically the spinoff, right?
It is the spinoff, and it's now more successful than Index in certain people's minds.
Yeah. So I guess that's like the main gripe I have with Kakegurui Twin at this stage. I'm only halfway through though. There are other issues I have with the series so far though. They aren't as varied when it comes to the type of games they play.
Right.
That's unfortunately like the first 2 episodes, and I get it. Like you want to at least build up characters because the whole point of this spin-off is to be able to showcase what these characters did before the main character of Kakegurui entered the school.
Right. So, no, Jabami is the name of that character. And the Kakegurui...
Yumeno or Yumeko Jabami? I remember it's like Yume something.
Yumeko, I think, Jabami. And Kakegurui Twin concerns Mary, who is kind of like the side... The second main character in original OG Kakegurui. So... 6 episodes, though, I was pretty surprised because I was expecting a full 12 episodes at least, or 10. But to get 6 is kind of like a little bit neither here nor there type thing. How do you feel about that?
That's actually kind of the issue I have, right? Because like I'm already halfway through, but it's also like I'm not really sure what else I'm getting out of this and how much more of this is going to be adapted, right? Like by the time I finish watching the 6th episode, hopefully I will be able to get an idea of, oh, this will get a continuation, or no, this is just 6 episodes, that's it.
This is just a side quest somewhere.
And like, look, the score for the anime is decent. It's a 7.39, which is actually in line with the main series. I think the main series got a lot of criticism for, you know, certain cultured aspects and specifically fan service, but
I love that.
I love the fan service.
I love the fan service.
Unfortunately, like that's why I love it. Like, call me a shithead, but like, hey, I appreciate good art.
So I have not read a single page of the manga for Kakegurui Twin. Other than the trailer, I actually have no context other than knowing that it features Mary and it's a prequel. But I heard about some Yuri undertones. Is that like extremely prevalent, or is that kind of just Yuri bait?
It's more bait at this stage. I think in the end, it's just basically just the fan service mingled in with a very predominantly female cast. There's going to be people who kind of see things a bit more than just, oh, they're being friends, which I get. But I think we're looking a little too deep into it. I think in general it's supposed to be raunchy and racy and just balls to the wall, like stupid.
So for context, what did you give season 1 of Kakegurui?
I think I gave both seasons 1 and season 2 XX 8s. But they were like 8s because it was just like personal appreciation. For me, when I saw the people giving it 7s and below, I understood why. But like that's all. But in the end, like my opinion of it is that I really enjoyed it.
So are you on the Nana train for Kakegurui Twin?
Yeah. So with this one, at the moment, if I have to give it a score as is, I would probably be putting it at a 7.5, leaning towards a 7.
Right.
And it's not a bad score in any way, right? Like 7's still decent. But
it's a passing grade.
What my concern is, you know, after watching the last episode, whether that will like further solidify it as a 7, maybe get to an 8, or it could possibly be worse than that.
My final question to you is, do you think that now that Twin is out and based on what you have consumed, do you think season 3 is coming for Kakegurui?
I hope so. I think like the main issue was that there wasn't enough content for season 3 to come out, but it's like there was like a mini hiatus. There's been more of the manga coming out, so at some point you should expect a Kakegurui 3. My issue is, as opposed to if we will get it, it's more whether people would still be interested in it. Right? I mean, at the moment, we were getting a decent fanfare for our Twin, right? At the moment with, like, I think roughly 37,000 members on the My Anime List membership. Popularity at this point, it only just dropped, like, yesterday, so it's going to be hard to really say whether or not it is truly popular.
I think High Card, which is their next original work done by the creators of Kakegurui, is the one that could be the biggest disaster ever, or it could be a very fun, weird ride.
I mean, we saw the trailer, and it looked... I don't know. Did
you hear that buzzing? Sorry about that. We stopped for like a couple of seconds. I found out I had static electricity on my body, so we're good now, though.
This is when you develop your quirk. Are you ready to
No,
enroll?
I didn't eat any hair yet, so that's not happened yet. But I think High Card is going to be a wild card, believe it or not. It really is, every sense of the word, because we have no idea what's going on. It looks bad, but also looks weird, kind of good. I don't know.
I have tempered expectations of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, just because of the people that are associated with it, and also based on what we've seen from the trailers, it, like you said, it could easily like go 0 or 100. It's gonna be hard because if it's in the middle, then it's just boring.
That's even worse.
Yeah,
actually.
If it's in the middle, then it's just boring.
If it's 0, we can shit on it. If it's 100, we'll gush about it. If it's neither, then it's just like, well, it's not really worth anything.
Yeah. Well, here's the hoping that it does a better job than this might just sound harsh on my end, but it's because I really, really liked the original Kakegurui and its sequel, despite the ending being a little bit, iffy. Twin so far has been okay. It hasn't been stellar, which maybe it's just like lofty expectations on my end.
I mean, I'm gonna watch Twin, except I have been a bit sloppy with my workload lately due to my new job. But look, I will definitely watch Kakegurui Twin just because I'm a huge fan of Kakegurui as well. And we have spent a lot of time talking about it, but because Will and I really like Kakegurui, we think it's very underrated for sure.
I mean, when we announced a while ago that's not we announced, we reported on the announcement that Twin was going to be adapted. We were like, oh no, this is cool.
I lost my shit in a way.
It's not quite Kakegurui, but it's still more Kakegurui. So why the hell not? And having watched it now, it's like I'm happy it's here. I just hope that by the end of the 6th episode, I'm either wanting more or like I can conclusively say this was as good as it's going to be. Please bring season 3 to Netflix, and then hopefully we can enjoy some more Kakegurui.
And I think that is it for our reading watching section. And we have a slew of news stories as usual, but unfortunately, I think we're going to have to start with the unfortunate news. So I think last episode or an episode or two ago, we announced that Solo Leveling, the manhwa, is receiving an official adaptation by A1 Pictures. And the music is also done by Sawano, so it's a very star-studded cast of animators, directors, so on and so forth.
Yeah, with all the news of the rumblings of Crunchyroll and Funimation and the mergers, and the Crunchyroll originals not really, the manhwa originals not really doing very well, and then now later on finding out that subscription basis for Crunchyroll is getting reduced, and then after that finding out that Solo Leveling is going to be coming on to Crunchyroll. It was all wonderful, like a lot of good shit leading up to this week, and then all of a sudden, very unexpectedly, we have to report that the manhwa artist for Solo Leveling, DUBU, that's DUBU, all capitalized, has unfortunately passed away due to a cerebral hemorrhage from chronic illness. So it's been a lingering issue for the artist for a while, and unfortunately, it has now become it's really tragic news.
Yeah, and it's basically a stroke. So it can really happen to anybody at any age. Just because you are well and able and healthy does not mean that I guess you would call it a freak accident can occur. So our thoughts and prayers to the family, and it is really unfortunate. I mean, I'm not that he cannot see the finished work done by A1 Pictures, but maybe he can see it from up above, honestly.
The timing was just so unexpected.
Yeah, it really was.
Like, everybody should be like super happy to whoa, oh my god, like the one manhwa that everybody was dying to see get adapted, and all of a sudden it gets the adaptation, everyone loses their shit, and then tragedy strikes.
Was that me? I feel bad about that. Look, this is a work in progress, guys. But hey, so That's unfortunate. Rest in peace. And let's move on to the next news story, okay?
Yeah. So following up with the next article then, Square Enix, if people haven't known by now, they don't just make video games, they also do manga. In fact, not just manga. They're actually going to be launching a manga service very, very soon. So the English version of Manga Up's website is going to be launched very, very soon. I think it came out earlier this week or last week.
Last week. And I downloaded it, took a look inside, and it's quite interesting how they kind of gamify their subscription service, because there are tokens that you can buy, which is very reminiscent of any subscription service. You pay to get access to chapters. And then in addition to that, certain chapters will give you XP, which you can level up, but then I'm not sure what do you get when you level up. Probably some other free currency. And then there's like a third currency, which I assume is the free currency that you can use to pay as well.
So details of what the subscription for a Manga Up subscription would entail. You essentially would get new manga along with the newly licensed stuff like the Demons of the Shadow Realm and My Clueless First Friend, as well as previously licensed manga. So Full Metal Alchemist, Nozaki-kun, Apothecary Diaries, Toilet Bound, Hanako-kun.
The Horimiya, the Royal Tutor, Case Study of Vanitas. Yeah, like all these are very well known, and a lot of them obviously have anime adaptations. So it's cool to see having it be available as a subscription service. It's almost like Will and I were like, people should do more of this.
It was almost like we recorded a bits and pieces about this, where, trying to see how you could be able to access more anime and manga online. Well, here you go. It's not just Azuki and Webtoon and Manga Plus anymore. You now have Manga Up.
What about Manga Down?
Manga Down would just mean that everything has been shut, and you then have to resort to the high seas.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Manga Down literally means the servers are fucking shut. So let's hope it doesn't get to that level.
But what has gotten to a certain level of excitement and hype is none other than Manga Plus and Jump Plus, because now we're moving from Square Enix to Viz Media and Shonen Jump. I think everyone knows this manga service. Will and I love it. Chainsaw Man Part 2, Spy X Family, all these anime adaptations of these mangas are now available. Did I say that correctly? It's available now on Jump Plus. But there has been a lingering manga property that Will has been touting since the dawn of time. And I read some of it, and I agree that it should. I think I even gave it the award for this manga hella needs an adaptation. And Will, would you do the honors?
So, Kaiju number 8, also known as Monster number 8, will finally be getting an anime adaptation. So, the studio Toho Animation streamed an announcement video, I believe yesterday, or maybe even early today, depending on time difference. And so in terms of like its little short history, just like maybe like a year ago, not even a year ago, like back in September 2021, so like 11 months. 4 million copies in circulation, making it the fastest Jump Plus manga to reach that milestone. Now, this is, of course, on the Jump Plus. This is not like in
physical.
It doesn't include any of the print magazines that Shueisha also runs too. It had been nominated for the 14th Manga Taisho Awards back in January 2021, the Tezuka Osamu Cultural Prize last February, not Friday, and the Eisner Awards in May. It did, however, take the first place in the 7th Next Manga Awards, the Tsukini Kuru Manga Taisho, in the web manga category just 1 year ago.
I think Kaiju number 8 is a very fun, action-oriented show. Obviously, that's what Shonen Jump is known for. And it is one of those things where I'm just like, when I saw the news, I thought Will would have texted me this news before I texted him. And I was just like, about damn time. Really,
I was sleeping, so I wasn't. I didn't see anything about this.
But then your message say, "Oh, I wake up."
When I woke up, it's like, "Oh, fuck! This is a great way to start my day."
And can we just say, Toho Animation is no joke. Like they have like resources.
They are big boys, big girls in the studio and in the studio industry.
But
that's not the only thing that's coming out from the Shueisha world.
We are ending our news story on probably one of the most anticipated animes in recent memory, I would say. And that is none other than Chainsaw Man. And Chainsaw Man revealed their third promo video, which is over 2 minutes long, and announced a cast of characters and voice actors and actresses. But here's the kicker. It's coming out in October. It's coming out in a couple of months.
And for those who are really, really, really lucky, the anime will also be getting a world premiere that's being screened at the Toho Cinemas in Roppongi Hills on September 19th, a month and a half from now.
So, Will, you haven't watched the trailer, right?
No, I only watched the first couple, and then haven't watched the one that just got announced. So, I'll save that for the lunch break.
Yeah, all I will say is, hold on to your butts, because shit's about to get real.
So that about wraps up the news. Now, usually we would then take a break and go straight into the actual discussion topic at hand. But because we've been doing this particular iteration of a JP series for a while. This is actually I believe our third. Yeah. So if you have listened to many of our previous episodes, we're actually going to be doing the third iteration of the anime closet cleanup. Now, of course, there are certain caveats as to how we do these episodes. So I think it would be good before going into the actual discussion topic to go over like the rules, the regulations, how we actually put everything together, and then afterwards get into the nitty-gritty of the stuff we've consumed and want to share with you.
Yeah. Now, some of you may be like, hey, we've been here since day one. We know the rules. We know how the format works. And for those listeners, awesome. Thank you. But there has been a new influx of listeners since last time we did the anime closet cleanup. So we felt like there is a need to sort of reiterate how this thing works. And probably by season 69, we will stop doing it because we'll be doing other things. You know what I mean, Will?
Yeah.
Okay, so
What will we be doing on season 69?
harms,
Season 69?
cultures.
Just a whole season.
Wait, actually, season 69?
Yeah.
We'll be dead.
I was going to say, you meant episode 69, which is, yeah, of course we'll be doing some harms and shit. But season 69, it would just be a season of just pure degeneracy. Hentai, right?
The H stuff.
Yeah.
Poultry with formal attire, right?
Eroges and all that.
Yeah. Okay, so enough shitting, enough like fucking around. Okay, so the anime closet cleanup, the motivation behind it is Will and I use My Anime List a lot. We use it as a resource to not only gauge scores and opinions of various animes and mangas, and light novels for that matter. We realize that we tend to have this really bad habit of having a bunch of shows added to our list as planned to watch, except we never, ever go through that list, ever. And there are all these really good shows, which every single time we do anime closet cleanup, we have awesome shows. And this time around, it is no different. So the reason why we're doing this is to clean up our old kind of, backlog, and at the same time, provide an excuse to talk about these animes that are kind of have no real connection with each other. So,
have you looked into your actual like plan to watch list and see how many entries there are on there?
I know.
It's like I must have like several hundred, but I think you're pushing into like 4 digits for yours, right? Or am I kind of inflating it? That's actually not that much, but it's still quite a lot on there.
Please hold.
Because like, look, we've been doing this podcast for close to 2 years now. But even before then, we were watching a ton of anime too. And at that point, that's when we also started using My Anime List. So we collated, put together everything, completed all the stuff, and then afterwards, then just looked through all the top 100 lists.
787 series is on my plan to watch. That's half of my anime list. My manga list is almost 4/5.
Yep. So specifically for this episode format, though, we will be going over anime. We're not going to be going into manga, but hey, who knows? Maybe in the future we will be doing some more manga-centric episodes focused on trying to clear up all the old manga that we were supposed to read and never got around to reading. Like, for example, I still haven't read Die Dark.
I'm so mad.
I haven't watched... Have you watched Ayusumi Punpun yet? Read?
No. Good night. Good evening. Good night, Pun Pun. No, yeah. I've not read that yet. That is on the plan to read list. So Will and I had to figure out a way to condense all these different choices on our plan to watch list into sort of a digestible format for not only us to consume, but for us to figure out what to talk to you guys about. And how we now came about it is we will do a drawing, a raffle, and we would instead have half of the drawing, which is a total of 10. So 5 from Will's plan to watch list and 5 from my plan to watch list. So then there are animes that may not be on Will's radar, and likewise with me. But then this is an opportunity for us to check out those shows. So Will would choose mine from his list and my list. I will choose his drawings from his list and my list as well. And then we draw it, I think, a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I think we did it
a month ago.
At least like 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, so a month ago. So the format is we do a drawing, and then there are overlaps sometimes, but we try our best not to. And it has to be planned to watch. It has to be chosen at random. Okay, you can go over the rules.
And it also has to be specifically TV series and movies. It could be ONAs, could be OVAs, but again, like there are other stipulations that go into it. So, for example, it has to be completed. Therefore, it's not currently airing. So we're not talking seasonals because we already do enough seasonal content anyway. And it also has to be accessible not just to ourselves but also to the audience. So even if I had like a DVD of like an old series that I can just give over to Jason and he can watch it if he has a DVD player, you guys won't be able to watch it unless you buy it yourself. So we want to make sure that it's readily streamable and easy to access. So basically stuff outside of anime, like if it's manga, video games, light novels, visual novels, those will not be eligible for potential choices. On the same vein, sequels such as like second seasons, would you include spin-offs?
No.
Yeah. So anything that is beyond like the original like released first season will also not be eligible.
To clarify, what I mean by no, I mean that spin-offs are fair game.
Oh, okay. So spin-offs are cool. But it's like, for example, like if you were to say, you should watch the second season of Kakegurui, for example. No, like you would like if you already watched the first season but didn't watch the second season, that will not be included as part of the draw for the classic cleanup.
And the reason for that is because if it's a sequel, not only will you need to consume the seasons before to be up to date, but also our objective is also to find things that we usually would not find. And a sequel can be unexpected in terms of plot and character development, but it's also predictable to a certain degree because it's a sequel.
Yeah. We've gone over how the lists were put together, so we'll just move on to the next one, which essentially is we have encountered several issues in the past where we tried to watch as much as we can, but, IRL stuff takes over. Specifically, I was moving. Jason had a new job.
And to be fair, I'm the one that usually breaks this rule in this instance.
It's hard, though, because it's like, if you really think about it, right? 4 shows minimum is 4 curs, right? So that's at least 48 episodes. And then afterwards, going into the other stuff we talk about, right? If we have like stuff we want to do for our reader watch list, if we're doing stuff in preparation for upcoming episodes beyond the classic cleanup, then it just makes things even more condensed and it'll be really hard to keep up with everything. So we set a maximum of 5 curs worth of anime. Now,
And
there's a way to mishmash all that.
And movies count as 1 cur, even though it's not. We just count it as 1 entry. So
because you have to sit down and watch at least an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's dedication right there. Like a movie easily is half a cur anime.
It is half a cur of anime for sure. Yeah. So we just count it as 1 cur just to make things easy instead of having to have halves and stuff like that. So
yeah, in the situation that, for example, the draws that we have are more than 1 cur. Like say, for example, I draw 2 curs. That means once I draw my 5th cur, then like that's it.
Yeah.
You stop right there.
And obviously it's subject to change, and depending on how things go, we might alter it, but that's the general rule. Now, I think afterwards, after we did the drawing, we then have certain shows that we can carry over from our list, and then the ones that are not carried over cannot be put into the list again until the next one after. So there's like a 1 cleanup break. I know listeners, we're going through like knee-deep weeds and details, and you're just like, why the fuck are you talking about this? Well, We actually never officially talked about the rules in regards to this format.
And also why we do it as well, right? Like, on one hand, it sounds like this is just, very specific. Like, why do you have to do it? Again, it's not a mandatory thing that we do carryovers. It's not a mandatory thing that we, like, just straight up, like, don't keep something in that's already been watched or has already been featured in a previous cleanup, like, in terms of a draw. The main thing is that we also want to be able to have variety in these episodes too. We don't want to just basically talk about stuff that, like, you knew you were going to talk about. It's just so that it keeps things fresh. We want to make sure that we cover all our bases and have enough, not just types of, like, shows. Like, we also want to talk about genres, different social issues that come along with it, maybe feature specific studios, talk about stuff that is current and stuff that's in the past. It allows for us to also have a little more fun with what we watch too.
Right, because rather than following up on seasonals, we have kind of this weird wild card of, how lucky or unlucky can you be, which Will has been unlucky this time around with certain shows, and I've been unlucky with certain other shows, or lucky too. So it's a mixed bag, and that's the whole point. So the last thing that I will mention is you are allowed to watch a show that has been on the list. You're not supposed to, but if you do, your penalty is that you have to accept a choice from the other person.
So even if you, for example, have like 5 choices out of the bag, you watch one of them, okay, cool. Immediately, you only get one draw out of the bag because the first show is chosen by the opposition. Not really opposition, but like by the counterpart. So, for example, I think it was one time...
It's called the jobless reincarnation syndrome, which I committed on the first cleanup.
Yeah.
And then you committed...
Well, I forgot what I watched, but I ended up having to read or watch Zero Zero Children afterwards.
Yeah, I forgot which one. But hey, we'll I don't know. It was... do you remember?
Dude, we've been doing this for a while. It's so hard to remember.
Look, I'll be honest. I'm a bit like a scattered brain today. I really think the new venue is great, but I also think it's like throwing me off in a way. Like I'm staring at my mic all the time. I don't even know if like
it's a lot closer than usual, right? And it's just in the end, like you've been used and familiar with a setup that has existed for like a year and a half, and then now it's brand new again. Like give it some time. Okay. By the second or third recording, this is all going to be all natural, all comfy, and we'll just be doing things business as usual.
I know I should have said this like at least 5 to 10 minutes ago, but if you just want to listen to our opinions of our cleanups, you can listen to the timestamp after the break. But we will end it on the choices that was ended up being drawn. For Will, it is Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, Promare, the movie, and You and Me, and then Endro.
With a tilde at the end.
Yeah, with the tilde at the end. And the last 2, You and Me and Endro, was from my plan to watch list, and the first 2 was from Will's plan to watch list. My cleanup, Will, do you want to do the honors?
So from my plan to watch list that I selected for Jason, he would have to watch Uchoten Kozoku or the Eccentric Family, and Bokura wa Mina Kawaiso, which is the Kawaii Complex Guide to Manners and Hostile Behavior. From his own list, I selected for him Inuyashiki Last Hero, which is fucking great, but I'm actually kind of keen to hear what you had to say about it, and Blue Spring Ride. So those are the choices that we're going to be going over in the second half today. And I'm actually like really, really keen to hear what you have to say for every show that I picked out for, not picked out for you, but that you drew from your hat. I'm sure you want to hear my thoughts on Promare.
Are shots going to be fired, or is it going to be heated battles and arguments?
It'll be icy cold.
Yeah, we should just eat.
Hot. It'll be hot and cold. Yes and no.
Oh my God, Katy Perry, you son of a bitch. Okay, what is up with us today, bro?
What do you mean?
I don't know.
I can't feel a little cash money every now and then. Come on, we're old as shit.
Okay, let's just order some Shake Shack and get the fuck out of here. Welcome back, everybody, to the second half of episode 40 of the Good Anime Palette podcast. I am your co-host, Jason. I am now reinvigorated, rejuvenated, and I have Will over here, cracking his back.
I'm going through the motions right now because I just chugged a whole bottle of root beer, and I'm feeling the gas coming up right now.
Well, Well, don't worry. We'll figure something out.
Yeah,
hopefully,
as we're going on to the second half of today's episode, right? Like, hey, the show must go on, even if I have to burp it out,
and even if we're in a new venue. So, let's start with the anime closet cleanup number 3. Just to reiterate, Wills is watching 4 shows, although he has told me that he has watched multiple seasons of these 4 shows.
Yeah, so actually 3 shows, 1 movie. And then
that's
Jason,
right.
You're watching 4 shows as well. Just as a reminder, in case you drone off a bit at the end of the first half, I will be going over Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, Promare, You and Me, and Endro. Jason will be going over Blue Spring Ride, The Eccentric Family, The Kawai Complex Guide to Manners and Hostile Behavior, and Inuyashiki Last Hero.
All right, so who's going to go first?
Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. Okay, I'll go first then. So let's start off with the one that I felt the most conflicted about, which is
Promare.
Well, no, actually, I was going to go to Promare a little bit later. I wanted to start off with Endro.
Okay.
Because fuck you, Jason.
Okay, so no, but you have to give listeners some context.
So Endro is an anime original that came out in 2019 in the winter season, produced by Studio Gokumi. So as an original, no manga source. The score on my anime list. Actually, no, I'll go into that later because I feel that once I say that, it sets a precedent that I don't really want to go down. Like, I want to give my own opinions of it first. So, actually, before I even get into that, so what the hell is Endro about? Because I went in completely blind. Mm-hmm. You absolutely fuck all about the series. I was just like, you know what? Like, you gave this to me. I drew it out of the hat. I'm going to watch it, and then afterwards, I'll tell you what it's all about.
So I need to give the listener some context, which was last cleanup, I had to watch Heaven's Lost Property, which actually wasn't that bad of a show. It just wasn't all great. But to be fair, I think Endro is in a different category on its own. But I thought, hey, you know what? It's 1 out of 5, right? 20%. What are the odds that Will would pick Endro?
Well, as long as it's an option to be drawn out of the hat, there is a chance it'll be drawn out of the hat. And boy, that was, I think it was either the first or the second. It was either one.
I laughed out loud when that happened.
So to give like a very, very quick plot of the series, it is a slice of life fantasy series that follows the hero Yulia Yusha Shardiet and her little party of friends who essentially go off and face up against a demon lord that has taken over the kingdom of La Panesta. However, when they have a sealing spell, it's like a spell of protection, and unfortunately, things get a little bit fucky, and they're thrown back in time. And then this is the time before the main heroine, Yusha, actually became a hero. So it's not an isekai.
Wait, so Yusha wasn't a Yusha?
Yeah, no. She was a Nosha. Then so now she's. This was the part where I was just like, okay, this is what the show's all about, right? Because the demon lord also goes back in time and is reverted back into a lolly, known as Mao, who inexplicably is the teacher of this adventure school that Yusha is now part of. And this is the part where I actually quite like about the show, where they kind of employ a lot of good fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, like dungeon crawling kind of mechanics and lore. So they definitely do their research on that part. So the fantasy part, no problems there. I think that they got things quite accurate, even if it's kind of like a very like general interpretation of it. It's not like anything was like egregiously wrong, or like, no, this is like a conflicting lore or mythology of these character types that exist in original fantasy and D&D stuff. So that part was cool. I quite liked that part. And each episode very much plays out like a slice of life, in that it's very much self-contained within each episode. The characters go into little random hijinks with not much consequence that affects like subsequent episodes. And generally the vibes are chill. I mean, it's just, as we've seen many times, right? It's just cute girls doing cute things. In this sense, it is cute girls doing adventure things through time traveling. And I think some of the comedic lines, the clips that they have are very well delivered. It's not bad in that sense.
So if I can just stop you real quick and interject, the humor, right, as you said, what type of humor are we talking? Is it referential humor, or is it like physical humor, like, oh, they fall on the ground and ouch?
There's a little bit of that kind of like easy slapstick comedy. There's some like kind of a little bit more on the vulgar side, but generally it's kind of high level. I think that's the comedy is actually quite well written. I do like that aspect, but some of the other bits of the comedy then ties into the whoa, Nelly, they really did go there, didn't they? Huh? I already mentioned that this features a very prominent lolly in the series, and look, like I don't care what your preference is, just as long as whatever you like doesn't hurt anybody around you or that knows of you. I'm not down with lollies. I'm not down with that shit at all. And it was very, very tough for me to watch some of these episodes because, boy, there was some really, really questionable shit in this series. Let's just say that it's not just one lolly. There's a lot of lollies.
Yeah, and they have like this magical girl kind of vibe, right?
Yeah. It doesn't really focus much on the magical girl side. Like aesthetically, it does, but in terms of if you were to say like genre-wise what it is like there's nothing else beyond fantasy slice of life.
So, Will, why is Endro anime of season 4 for you?
It's not.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. Okay. Despite all the good things I said about the series, despite all the things I say about how the characters are kind of cool and they also do a lot of, good comedy bits, there are some very dry episodes as well, in which what really drives the momentum is just lolly fan service. That was the deal breaker for me. Like, if there are lollies in any series, I would do the best I can to look past it. But when it becomes a focal point and it kind of just it got a little too real for me in terms of having to accept what I was seeing on the screen, that's when I was like, I'm so glad I'm not watching this in public, and I'm so glad that after I finish talking about it this episode, I never have to talk about Endro again.
So, would you consider the fan service ecchi?
It's definitely ecchi, but bordering to the point where you have to also realize and remember that these are not like these are prepubescent girls. That's where the issue is. Like, even if it is like, oh, there's fan service in all kinds of anime, they're not even just anime, but like there's also like really risque shit in like live action Western movies and
hey, Harem Labyrinth says hello, right?
I mean, like, we don't even have to go so far as, for example, like Euphoria, that live action show where there's a bunch of nudity and people forget that these kids are supposed to be high school kids, right? So you can say, oh, double-edged sword there, the double standards here. This is not that though. This is literally seeing girls who are young as fuck, actually looking like children and doing shit that like is just completely not okay. Like I believe it or not, I do have standards, and unfortunately, Endro goes way past that line.
So, in regards to the lolliness, I understand that for Endro, it is a huge core aspect of the anime. But if I were to replace the lollies with, adult women, do you think then the quality would have changed, better, worse, or,
And that's where, like, I have a problem talking about Endro, because you're kind of right in that, like, the main appeal would be the lolly aspect.
Right.
I think if you were to replace them with people who are of age, or at least, like, get it to, like, high school level where, we talk about for male, right? We talk about Mama Haha and all that. And, like, they also do some really, really racy shit. And, like, you also remember, they're in high school. They're, like, 17, 18, right? In this sense, like, if you were to bring them back up to age, I think at that point, it kind of loses the point of being a series itself. Like, the whole reason why Endro exists, I feel, is just because there's people who like lolly fan service and be in characters who say stupid shit, but like when you really, I guess, quote unquote, analyze it, it sounds smarter than they are.
I'll be very honest. The reason why I put it in the drawing is literally someone says, do not watch Endro. And I go, why? I go, there are lollies. And I'm like, okay. And magical girls, okay. There's time traveling, okay. And fan service. And I'm like, this is the perfect choice to troll Will. Let's do this.
If you had seen me, like, my first reaction of watching Endro in the very beginning,
I would have paid money.
You would have just pissed yourself laughing.
I would have paid so much money.
Fuck. I don't even think like it was 5 minutes until I texted you. It was like, what the fuck is this? And you're like, oh boy, you're watching Endro. Okay, all right.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I understand your general view of it, right? And it seems to be, and tell me if I'm like misrepresenting you, is that the lolly aspect is basically the whole point. If you take that out, it's an extremely forgettable or not even in consideration of an anime that anyone would spend time watching. But if you add the lolly part in, there is all of the, some people will say benefits. For you and I, it's more of the issues that comes with a lot of lolly portrayal and the perception of it, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And what is your final score then?
I look back onto my text messages as well. Mm-hmm. So like it was the day before, like we're just chatting, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna peace out, and then I'm gonna just watch some Endro." Okay, cool. My message to you was, Jason, Endro, what the fuck? And you just say, "Oh, how so? What the fuck? Oh, do tell about what the fuck?" And I'm just like, I'm definitely not watching this in the episode. And it then goes into a long spiel of, is this a 7? Is this a 6? And if I wanted to be trying to be as objective as possible, if somehow you're able to ignore or even appreciate the lolly aspect, this would be a 7. However, because of the fact that I can't accept the lolly aspect, it is a 6 for me. I think like there are definitely episodes that were like 7s, even 8s, but I think it's just because of the fact that it has that lolly tag on it that I have to. It sounds greedy, but it's selfish. But
I don't think
I'm the
so.
one watching it, so I have to give it a 6.
And to be very, very honest, the lolly aspect of Endro is, I would say, quintessential. Which is hilarious because the director also did Quintessential Quintuplets, I just realized. But Endro has a MAL score of 6.92. So you are not that far off the mark in terms of everyone kind of being like, I don't know, kind of, but not really. I don't know.
What's funny, though, actually looking back at the texts, this was on June 30th. So as of recording, this is going to be about 6 weeks prior. It was a 6.97. So it had dropped 0.05 points over the course of 6 weeks, which is now me wondering, why are people still watching this thing?
Because you're watching
it. I guess, yeah.
Your voice travels far and wide.
As soon as I logged it onto my watching list on MAL, everybody freaked the fuck out and needed to see what Endro was all about. I'm sorry if I'm the reason why you watched and had to burn your eyes because...
No, I'm sorry... Will and
your
listeners.
Friend is the one who should be sorry, who are planting that seed in your mind.
It was such a good decision. Oh my god, I would have paid money to see it. Okay, so
that was Endro.
That was Will's review and hopefully final mention of Endro for the rest of his entire life.
No more words.
I, on the other hand, will start with an anime called Blue Spring Ride, also known as Aoharu Ride or Ride.
But it's probably Ride.
But I don't know. The Japanese people say Ride, right? Technically, right? So it's based on the manga of the same name by Saki Saka, who did the story and the art. Blue Spring Ride was adapted into a live-action film released in Japan, December 13th, 2014. And the series is finished and licensed in English by Viz Media, made by Production IG, and premiered in summer of 2014. The manga has a raw score of 8.16, so extremely high. And the anime has a 7.65 raw score, which is pretty decent, but the popularity is 169, and the manga popularity is 42. So massively popular, both on the anime front and the manga front. The story is very typical. It is about a girl called Yoshioka.
I thought you were going to say her name was Blue Spring.
No. Yoshioka, who during her middle school years kind of just had a bad time and tries to reinvent herself when it comes to high school. And during this time that when she was in middle school, she kind of had like this puppy love, flirtatious relationship with this guy called Ko.
She's just a little too popular with the boys, basically. Like getting too much attention from the boys?
No. It's just this one boy. Because
that's what it says on the mal. Ostracized by her female classmates in middle school for being a little too popular with the boys.
Oh, yeah. And that's why she doesn't like boys in general, because she gets so much flack for it, and she's not interested in anyone except for Ko. Fast forward maybe like a couple of months of that semester, Ko mysteriously disappears and moves away. Then she never remembers why, and then she's just like forgets about him. Then comes high school, bumps into him again, except he has a different last name now because, and this is revealed in the first episode, there's a divorce, which is why the last name has been changed. So then it's like, well, is he a different person? Is she a different person? She tries to reinvent herself in high school. Is she trying really hard to pretend to be someone that she isn't? There are all these different people going through these different struggles, and of course the primary romance between Ko and Yoshioka. So first things first, this anime is extremely well written. I think the drama and the romance is mostly conveyed through the main female character's dialogue with herself, like her monologue. And it reminds me a lot of My Little Monster with Haru, the guy, right? Is Haru, right? And imagine the opposite. So Haru is kind of like the girl, but has the mindset of like the self-awareness of a normal person, a normal teenage girl. And they really capture that teenage angst of there's this guy that I really liked and he really likes me, but then we went our separate ways due to family circumstances, and then he came back, but he's a different person. But do I like you because of you? Or do I like the old you? You know, so on and so forth. And then there's all these different characters that show up, each with their own kind of issues. There's a student-teacher kind of thing that is very typical. There's the cute girl that is just acts cute, not because she wants attention, but because that's just the way she is, and she ain't gonna take no shit, except everyone gives her shit, mainly the girls. So on and so forth. I know what I'm saying is extremely generic, and it very much is. But I think the execution and the way the characters work through their troubles is extremely mature, and in a way almost captures that teenage angst and awkwardness and embarrassment very well. And I think that's a really hard thing to do because it can be so cringe and so embarrassing, but it ends up being very genuine, really. Like, it's not overdone, and everything felt very natural, literally. Like riding through spring, you know, very smooth and beautiful. Everything is just done very well, but it is nothing special. So yeah, I went off on a bit.
Yeah, you just went off on just saying how it's very generic and typical. But I mean, like there must have been some like good, rewarding moments in terms of watching it, right? Like I mean, I would say that like are the characters like well written? Are the characters like do they perform well? Does the plot come together nicely? Is there a good ending to it?
It's structured very well, and the characters really, you know, that like issue that everyone has of like will they, won't they, or hey, this misunderstanding, just talk it out. Literally just say it and you're good. Has nothing to do with you being embarrassed. Has nothing to do with you, trying to keep secrets. It's just in any other normal real life circumstance, you would just say it. And they do that here. Sort of like in My Little Monster, the characters have an issue. They work it out. They talk it out. Okay, it may not be solved completely, but everyone kind of gets a compromise and moves on. And I think as a pure shoujo show, like this is as shoujo as you can get, it's really solid. I would give it a 7.5, but probably to an 8.
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of its reception, right? It was one of the best-selling manga series in Japan, particularly within teenagers and women between the ages of 20 and 30. There's a magazine called Da Vinci that ranked it as one of the top 5 best female-oriented comics in 2013, and has actually been a very, very good seller. It's probably like one of the best, most acclaimed shoujo series during the period of 2013 to 2014.
Yeah, and it doesn't do anything, like it doesn't make melodrama. There is drama, but it felt real. It didn't felt forced. It didn't felt like they were overstepping their boundaries as a shoujo anime or manga. And I think it is a very interesting tale of, and captures very accurately, teenage angst and awkwardness and lost love and puppy love and so on and so forth. So,
do you think it, like, because you talked about, and it's not necessarily a gripe, but it was definitely an observation on your end where it was like very not generic. It was like, not that different from a typical kind of shoujo, like a romance, not a shoujo ai, but like a romance story like targeted towards the shoujo demographic. Do you feel that because of the fact that it is kind of just not that different from other stuff you've consumed, it's just more of a matter of whether it works for you or not, whether it's just personal taste?
Yeah, I really think that if you're into melodrama, which there's a good subsection of shoujo animes and mangas that do that, this is not for you. If you want another solid shoujo series that really captures characters in a light that makes you feel that, oh yeah, if I was a teenage girl, that kind of logic makes sense. Or if I was a mopey emo dude, gloomy tsundere, yeah, that kind of makes sense. It felt very natural, and no bumps, no hitches.
It's just a solid show.
Super solid show. The only issue of me not giving it an 8 per se, rather a 7.5, is because it doesn't do anything special, but the execution is rock solid.
Yeah, but for the purposes of like a Mal score, 8?
I think giving it a 7 is not fair, so I would give it an 8.
Okay, all right. So, moving on to my next show. Now we're going to be talking about Promare. So, Promare, original anime movie that premiered in Japan on May 24th, 2019. Produced by Jason's beloved studio, Studio Trigger. And also by our beloved music composer, Hiroyuki Sawano.
Hey, Mr. Penkin, you're still up there, okay? Don't fret. Don't worry.
At some point, he's going to be listening to this and be like, I know.
The fuck are these two people talking about?
I know I'm your second favorite.
I'm legit, bro. Yeah.
Before even like talking about the movie, there are of course like 2 preludes that are like around 10-15 minutes each. One of which being called Promare Galohen and Promare Leohen. Galo and Leo being the 2 main characters of Promare. We're not going to talk about those 2, even though they're worth watching, I suppose. So the movie has a raw score of 7.98, ranked 590, and overall almost 250,000 members, which pushes its popularity up to 821. So, Promare, there's a lot to appreciate here. The art style is pretty much like what you would expect from Trigger. It's very colorful, very sharp. Unique designs in terms of not just the characters, but the sort of landscape that they're in. So the backdrops, the foregrounds, the color compositions are all done very, very nicely. And then I guess with any kind of action, like mecha, there's not really a mecha, but there are robots in here. There's going to be some elements of 3D CG, which I guess is actually like the first complaints I have about it. Not that it was bad, some of the 3D CG was actually pretty neat. It looked cool. The problem was, I don't know what kind of software or equipment they were using, but the rendering speeds were incredibly shit.
Also, they like vectors a lot and triangles and sharp edges.
It just seemed like when I was watching it, I was wondering, like, is my internet speed like not working? Is my computer slowing down? No, it was just the fact that the movie itself was buffering the visuals. It could not actually keep up with the quality of what was on screen. So at points I was just watching. It's like, this is kind of shoddy. I don't know what's going on. It didn't for me. Like, I thought maybe this is just making the platform I'm watching it on. Maybe it's my computer. No, it actually seemed to be a very common complaint about Promare. So I guess my criticism there is somewhat justified. It just felt like when I was watching it, there definitely weren't enough quality assurances in place. So that was really one of my major issues with Promare. I'm just gonna go over some of the criticisms first, because I do want to talk about some of the good stuff, but I just need to air out what I just really did not vibe with for the movie. The next thing I was not very happy with was the voice acting. I thought that the voice cast was, whilst good, the performances were very lackluster. I especially did not like the voice acting for Gallo and Leo. Whilst I understand he's supposed to be an oppressed sort of counter villain, and he's just trying to save his people and do the right things, even though society predicates that he's a mastermind, like evil genius. I just don't felt that it didn't feel like I connected with the characters as much. The line deliveries were kind of weak. It didn't seem like it carried a lot of emotion. And in fact, most of the time, like, I just heard the music way louder than I did hear the voice acting. I don't know if it was a specific decision in terms of having soft spoken words, or if the characters themselves were supposed to carry a specific kind of sound, but it felt really off. It's not like I'm saying that, like, the voice acting has to be like pinpoint, like 100%. It has to be like the main focus, and that's it. What I am saying though is that, like, it just felt kind of hard to really follow along with any dialogue or monologues, because I sometimes just didn't really want to hear any of the characters talk.
That's harsh.
I don't know. I mean, like, that's just how I felt. I just really didn't like any of the voice acting.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that is a harsh comment. Whether or not, like, people think that's justified or not.
Yeah, no, to me it's true.
Right.
I mean, like, I just did not vibe with it. I mean, I would say the same with, like, I mean, we've talked about how, like, with Bubble, some of the voice acting was not great. And I felt the same way about Promare.
Yeah.
So it's, in the end, like, that was another, like, sort of criticism I had about it. Overall, I felt that the movie was good as a sort of a visual art piece. It looked great. The music by Sawano was, of course, fantastic. There's nothing to complain about the Sawano music.
I have to say that the music is not your typical Sawano with strings and operatic pieces. This is more electronic. Some would even say like techno focused.
Well, it's the Trigger appeal.
Yes,
I think that's just generally it. Like, if you listen to a lot of the other, like, Trigger stuff, it would be a little less orchestral, a little bit more industrial. So I like that part. The story itself was okay.
It's about firefighters, man.
Yeah, it's just, literally just putting out fires. Overall, I felt that whilst there were a lot of complaints about, I guess, generally the quality of the movie, both from a sound as well as from a visual perspective, I think it did a good job in terms of at least being able to maintain that ethos of just having balls to the wall wackiness that Studio Trigger is pretty much known for. That part I definitely do appreciate.
I think the latter third, where it's kind of like the final like set of action scenes, I think is very, very reminiscent of not only Studio Trigger, but obviously like Gurren Lagann or Kill la Kill.
The only issue I had with that is just the fact that with Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill, the animation was smooth.
Yeah,
whereas it was just constantly buffering.
Like, to be fair, for me, I wasn't that bothered by the buffering. At some points, it felt laggy, right? But
very, very laggy.
But in certain points, I kind of felt like it was almost like semi-intentional. I wouldn't say it's completely intentional because it's not. But sometimes like the fire is expressed in such a way that it's not fluid, but that's the point. Obviously, I'm trying to be as generous as I can be.
Yeah, well, the fire wasn't even my complaint. It was when their cars are driving, when the robots are moving around. Like there were a lot of lagging moments,
especially in the first major scene.
That's it. That was like a pretty big deal breaker for me. Like I'm not saying that it's like if you bought a game from day one and you need to patch it to make it work smoothly. Like at least you have that. But with a movie and you released it on the first run, like I would feel that there will be a lot more than just myself. A lot of other people that would also be like, what's going on here? Like, why is this part so jittery compared to the rest of the movie? And who knows? Maybe they would do upscale for Blu-ray, or they do like a redefinition of it in the future to at least get those kinks out of the way. But I saw what I saw. And unfortunately, that part, like, I really can't give that much of a good score on.
Right.
Yeah. The story though was okay. I know you wanted to like really hear my thoughts on Promare because you talked about it before, and you know we did do a trigger sort of analysis, not really trigger analysis, but we did talk about like a lot of trigger properties. You know, we talked about like panty and stocking with Gardabelle. We talked about Gurren Lagann, though it was Gainax, not trigger. We talked about Kill la Kill as well as Little Witch Academia. So therefore, it's like, you know, that's quite a lot of the trigger catalog. Really, I should be checking out Promare. And no, luckily with the cleanup, this gave me the opportunity to watch it. And whilst it was a good experience overall, there was just a lot of errors along the way that unfortunately, like, it just kind of dragged down the overall experience. So as a final score, if it's just like not Mal, it's just my own personal score, it's a 7.5. But in a similar vein, giving it a 7 is kind of rough because there were a lot, because like the parts that they do well, they do really, really well. It's just unfortunate that like bits and pieces here and there kind of drag the score down. So as if I had to log it on Mal, which I think I did actually, if I log it on Mal, it would be an 8. It'd be an 8. So it's a very solid show. It's a very good show, a very good movie. Just that there are going to be elements where you watch it and it might distract you. It might, you know, kind of, you know, take away from the experience. It did for me, but, you know, I still kept on watching. And in the end, I think I had a good time. I had a really good time.
For me, I kind of just went with it. I don't think it bothered me that much, although it did bother me. And I ended up giving it a 9. And originally, a while I was thinking about, should I give it an 8 instead? But the way it is I'm biased. So that's about it.
Very much it. And I'm objective because I don't really care all that much about Trigger. So
also, like Sawano,
I can't give it any
I also
more than
really
8.
like the color vibrancy. I like Sawano's music in particular comparatively to other things that I've heard.
Those were the good parts that I agree with. It's just that all the bad parts were really bad.
No, I get it.
So that's why it's like in the end, like an 8 is probably as high as it'll go. If I had my way, I wouldn't give it an 8. But yeah, I'd say that there's definitely a spot for people who want to enjoy, you know, a good kind of action-paced Trigger property. So yeah, it gets a recommendation. I thought I would enjoy it more, and
I thought you would enjoy it more too.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've said what I said. I really had a lot of issues with it in the end.
No. I mean, yeah. I mean, you're not the only person that has voiced these concerns, right? And I think a lot of them are valid. For me, in this particular case, I was just more okay with it.
It's just bias.
It's just bias, and I admit that, right? So that's the way it is for me in this particular case. Now, my turn to go to my next cleanup, and this one I have to say emphatically is the cleanup anime of Cleanup 3 for me. This is the Eccentric Family. I'm not even going to bother with the Japanese pronunciation.
You already said it once, so it's all good.
It's based on the novel of the same name by Tomihiko Morimi, and he is the same writer for, Tatami Galaxy. What?
My fucking favorite.
It premiered in summer 2013. There are 2 seasons, with the second season airing in spring of 2017. So 4 years apart, roughly. And both seasons were produced by PA Works, also known as Akotop on the White Sand, Shirobako, and so on and so forth. The anime has a 7.85 for season 1. Season 2 has an 8.11. The popularity is not that high, but the ranking, as you can hear by the score, is pretty high. There's no MAL score for the novel because it's a novel and not a light novel. Now, I like Tatami Galaxy a lot. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I stand by that statement. And it's a really solid show that goes in a lot of weird directions. The Eccentric Family, on the other hand, is a bit of an oddball, which is kind of like a pun intended because it talks about tanukis and mischiefs. And
it is an Eccentric Family.
It literally talks about a family of tanukis who they are basically Japanese raccoon shapeshifters. And in this world, there's tengus, which is like the bird people with like long noses. Then there are also the humans that live, like you and I do. Hopefully, you're not a tengu or a tengu.
I'm not going to tell you if I am.
Oh, yeah, that is true. And then there's like a tanuki world as well. And the main character is a tanuki and has to deal with his family. And he has like, what? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I think 4 brothers, including himself, the mom. He also has a sensei who's a tengu, and there is a mysterious human who somehow got adopted by this sensei. And there's all these like weird things. And long story short, there's a mysterious group of humans who call themselves the Friday Fellows. And every year they cook a tanuki stew as part of their year-end bash. And it just so happens that the last year, the main character's father was the one that got eaten in the stew. And then there's a lot of family intertwining, the theme of brotherhood, the theme of family sticking together. I think, okay, I'll just say this. This show, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I was like 3 episodes into season 2. I would finish it, but I had to finish all the other stuff first because I technically finished the first season.
I mean, you also said you had a hot take, which I personally didn't think was a hot take, that you enjoyed it more than Tatami Galaxy.
100%. I think Tatami Galaxy is extremely good, but this is more of my style of slice of life, also have witty dialogue, not that fast-paced, but still have that same level of intelligence and smartness that you would expect from the author of Tatami Galaxy. How everything kind of culminates together into one big showdown, the climax and the build-up. In a very slice-of-life show, I was really oddly surprised. And the dialogue is fantastic because they shift between, regular English, I guess, or in this case, Japanese. And then the subtitles would then shift into a very formal, old kind of Japanese, like, "Oh, dear sir, I did not mean to offend you this way." But then sometimes they were serious about it. And then sometimes, as you might guess with a tanuki, he's being mischievous or being almost mocking. And it is extremely fun show. And there was one episode, and I'll just say the number, episode number 8 or number 7, I forgot. This was somewhere there. And I did not expect that, but I kind of teared up a bit. And that was when I realized that, this show is fantastic. I think that in order to really understand this show, you need to at least have a basic understanding of Japanese mythology. You don't have to, but it does give you that extra layer. Like, if you don't know what tanukis are, it's not a deal breaker. But understanding, why all of a sudden there's, that fortune cat thing that shows up, why tanukis are a certain color, why the tengus and tanukis have, this issue, it really brings everything together. And then all of a sudden, this random human who's really hot somehow is running the show, and it's really weird, and it's also really eccentric.
So the novel series, right? It's got 2 volumes, and the 2 seasons of Eccentric Family essentially adapt both, right? So season 1 adapts book 1, and season 2 adapts book 2. Now I know you haven't watched second season yet, though. I feel that based
like
on
the first 3 episodes, but yeah,
but you're enjoying it, right?
Immensely.
So, do you feel that because of the fact that it is just like a slower adaptation, which is like instead of like, because if we talk about manga, sometimes a series can essentially cover like anywhere from 4 to 8 volumes, depending on how quickly they decide to cram everything into like a 1 or 2 cour series, a season. So with the way that it's paced out, right, 12 episodes, covering one whole book, do you think that was what helped the pacing? Because I know you didn't. It's not necessarily a criticism, but one of the more poignant aspects of Tatami Galaxy is that dialogue is like rapid fire. Now, of course, like if you're reading it, you can read it at your own pace. But when it's done in a visual format with the audio to come along with it, it's very much controlled by however the pacing is done by the studio, by the voice actor. So with the way that is done in Eccentric Family, do you think that that's like what helps the pacing for you? Do you feel that because you said that it's like a little slower paced, and it's easier for you to sort of take in the slice of life aspects for it?
So when I was watching the Eccentric Family, the pace and the kind of format and structure reminds me of a certain live action comedy series, which may not make sense to certain people, but it just gave me that vibe. And that is Arrested Development. Because in the very beginning, you get like the monologue, you get like the narration, and then that's the main character in the Eccentric Family making the narration. You get sometimes really funny things, sometimes really heartfelt things. Then all of a sudden it turns out that it's not heartfelt at all. It's just hilarious. Or it's just bad. And it's just this guy trying to fix certain scenarios that's popping up, dealing with his brothers, dealing with the loss of his father, and dealing with his mom. And in terms of the pace, it really is more slice of life than I anticipated. And they really take their time to get things going. I would say maybe the first 3 to 5 episodes, I was like, like, it's not bad at all. It's good, but I don't get why it's like a high 7s or low 8s for season 2. Or like, I heard so much about it. I mean, when you say the author of Tatami Galaxy, people will take notice. So when I saw and heard the slower paced dialogue about Tanukis of all things, no time traveling, I'm just like, what is this? And I was waiting for something to happen when nothing did. And it turns out that that's the point. Like, things had to build up over time, and they really take their time, just like a stew. And there's so many parallels and symbolism and metaphors on top of each other. It's done very, very well. Does that answer your question, Will?
So you would just say the Eccentric Family is essentially the Bluth family in anime form?
It reminds me of
There's parallels to
There's
it.
parallels, or even like the way that the episodes are structured is like that.
Yeah, just for context for people who don't know what Arrested Development is, the Bluth family is the essentially the main family of focus within the series. That's just the comparison I was making.
It's like a dysfunctional family.
Literally putting out fires here and there, but it's a lot more chaotic in Arrested Development. Whereas with this, it's like you said, they really do take their time with,
and it's a bit more dramatic, right? So it just reminds me of that kind of rushing around, putting out fires, having comedic elements and stuff like that. So I just really enjoyed my time, and already the first couple of episodes of season 2 is like, welcome back, and I was like, hell yeah.
So now, of course, with the amount of anime you're watching, especially for the upcoming episodes that we're going to be recording, do you feel you'll still be able to at least try and fit some time to finish up second season of Eccentric Family?
I'll be very honest. I think given the amount of things that we are trying to do for season 4,
it's not a must do, right?
It's not even a must do. I think I will rewatch season 2 and just pretend I did not watch those 3 episodes and rewatch them.
Yeah, you want to at least like clean the slate and like just start fresh, right? Yeah. Rather than just picking up from where you were and be like, oh, did that happen? I don't remember this. Might as well just start from the beginning.
Yeah, and I anticipate it will be some time.
Yeah. So final score 9.
9. And
was there ever a point where you were like 9.5?
There was always a time when it was an 8. Always. It was never a 7.5 or a 7. It was always an 8.
So it was a bloomer. It grew into a 9 for you.
That one episode where I teared up and the kind of culmination of things really made it so like real in a way that I was just like, man, to have that kind of response, to get that out of me, deserves a 9.
Wow, that was a very good overview.
I mean, I like Tatami Galaxy less than this, and I do like Tatami Galaxy a lot.
I do. That's why when you said it was a hot take, I was like, that's not a hot take. Like, in the end, right? Like, if there's something you like more, then like that more. Like, I'm not going to tell you, like, no, you're absolutely fucking wrong.
Same thing with Promare, right? I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say I'm wrong or right either. Like, that's why it's called being subjective, right? But I'm interested to see what you think of Eccentric Family whenever you get the time to consume it.
Yeah. So, moving on to the my third series. We're going to be talking about Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. So, again, it's another anime original, but not in the sense that there's been no other property that has existed within this specific universe. It's a unique original work, but based on the Gundam franchise. So,
what is Gundam, Will?
Big robots, zoom, zoom, boom, boom. That's it. So,
what the fuck?
I haven't watched any other Gundam before. I mean, like,
wait, really? This is your first like major foray,
actual completion, right? As a kid, yeah, I watched Gundam, but I can't tell you if I watched a Gundam Wing or if I watched Zero or if I watched whatever. I do not remember.
That's fair.
It didn't necessarily. It was just kind of like in the background for me, much like how Dragon Ball Z was in the background for me. So, like at the time, I was more focused on Doraemon, Crayon Shin-chan, more focused on Pokemon, stuff like that. That was more my shtick. But fast forward to today. Now, after completing Iron-Blooded Orphans, I can finally talk about some Gundam. So it is the 14th entry into the main line of the Gundam franchise. So very, very long running. I think it started up in the 80s, 70s. It could be older. I
and
have
guess
no
what?
Clue.
This October would be the next iteration of it.
Mercury Witch, right?
The Witch from Mercury, I think.
Yeah. So it was released in fall of 2015. That's season 1, and season 2 was released in fall of 2016. Done by Good Old Sunrise, known for essentially all of their mecha series, as well as the Daily Lives of High School Boys. I just thought that was really, really funny.
So I have to say, you put in work for Iron-Blooded Orphans.
Yeah. So 25 episodes for the first season, but I'm also taking this into account because later on this year I do have a couple of obligations I need to take care of, which means that it will be a lot harder for me to watch anime at that point. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to binge everything I can right now so I don't have to cram everything as I'm doing these obligations. After I was finished with the first season, I was also done with the other cleanup, which I'll be talking about after Jason goes over his one. And I figured, hey, I've got some time. I'm kind of up to date with my seasonals. I'm kind of prepared for all the other episodes we're recording in next week or two. Why not watch the second season as well? And so, over the course of a week and a half, I finished all 50 episodes of Iron-Blooded Orphans. What was funny, though, this actually should be known too. The series itself was directed by Tatsuyuki Nagai and written by Mari Okada, which, as a team, they actually previously worked on Toradora and Anohana. So that's a very interesting team to go from, a tsundere love fest and a cry fest into Iron-Blooded
Mecha
Orphans.
fest.
Yeah. Actually, in terms of the cry fest, maybe doing Anohana was actually good work to prepare them to work with IBO. I'm calling it IBO here and there. So if I say IBO, I mean Iron-Blooded Orphans. So,
wait, Will. War never changes, right?
This is the crux of the series itself, in which it is focused on a group of mercenaries that's essentially, are left on Mars to fend for themselves and do a lot of, mercenary work. This is set in, they have their own sort of like dating system. Like it's PD.
Oh, okay.
So it's because there was a disaster of sorts that happened. So it's
pre-disaster, post-disaster. No shit.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's BD. It's like before disaster.
Before, yeah, okay. To be fair, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So the disaster itself was known as the Calamity War, and then since then,
that sounds ominous as fuck.
Yeah, they do go over it a bit later on, so you understand why. So Mars has been terraformed and then colonized by humans, but even with like all these advancements, the people of Mars, they want freedom. They want proper governance. They don't want to be under the tyrannical fist of Earth, and therefore they want to be able to find ways to improve their livelihoods.
Yeah, fuck those people on Earth, man.
Yeah, fuck Earthlings. So it then follows.
You call them Martians, right? Technically.
Yeah, they are Martians.
They are Martians. Yeah.
Yep. So then you have a noblewoman by Cordelia Ina Bernstein, who is the Martian noblewoman who is essentially trying to negotiate independence for the Martians.
Okay.
As we've seen through history, whenever a nation tries to seek independence, it does not go down well. That's why Independence Day for any country in the world, whilst is now celebrated as a fucking good old holiday, has some really fucked up history behind it. So
look, Will Smith did us all a favor
by kicking that alien's ass.
Exactly. That laser fucked up the White House, bro.
Fuck them aliens. So it's I don't want to go too deep into the story itself because there's a lot of names I don't really remember, especially in terms of like the terrorist groups, in terms of like the military forces, the rogue nations, and all that.
Okay, so as someone who has at least consumed a bit more Gundam than you, let me ask you a couple of questions and that maybe the listeners are also having. So first of all, if I remember watching some sort of footage, there are like AK-47s with like mechas in the background, and the first thought that came to my mind is the mechas are gonna fuck you up like really badly.
Yeah, and that was, I guess, one of the misconceptions about Iron-Blooded Orphans, because, and this could be a hot take, this could just be me being completely wrong, I don't think that Iron-Blooded Orphans is a mecha anime.
Yes, that seems to be the prevailing thought, or at least the point of contention with a lot of people who have watched it.
It definitely, if there's criticisms, it stems from that. And the fact that it's more a war anime than actually being a mecha anime. It's a war anime with mechas in it.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Right.
Good.
So, but for me, like someone who isn't necessarily invested in Gundam, and is just happy to watch anything, really. It's not like I stay away from mecha, dude. Like I've watched like a fair amount of mecha recently. Like, dude, like Gurren Lagann is fucking awesome. Eureka 7 is amazing. I really like it. And I will just say this as well. I really like Iron-Blooded Orphans. I really damn like Iron-Blooded Orphans because it is so fucking real. It's so painful to watch some of the episodes because it just reminds you of the harsh realities of, like you said, like war never changes. War is a fucking terrible thing, a terrible place, a terrible event. And it would always change the course of human lives no matter which side of it you're on. And the problem that people have with the series that I've seen in terms of criticisms, and I think you're quite aware of it. If not, then you probably will be able to discern from it, that it's people feel that from all the other Gundam series, or at least all the ones that were preceding it, there seemed to be like a good resolution. That at the end of the day, someone wins, and it's hopefully the person you root for.
Or there's a good, hopeful message, possibly.
Yeah. But as we've always known, right, and this is not even something that's taught in textbooks, it's just something that has been known through the course of human history. History is written by the victors. And therefore, whether or not you want to root for a team, if they're not on the winning side, their stories aren't going to be told, and you're not going to be able to enjoy that resolution you were looking for. And I think that was like the main criticism that a lot of people had, because they just felt that, oh, there were certain decisions that were made by characters that just were so out of line from a titular Gundam protagonist, or like, oh, this specific character looks so weak. In any other Gundam, they totally wouldn't have done that thing. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but that's the thing. Like, Iron-Blooded Orphans is not a typical Gundam series.
Do you think that's because of the writer-director duo and their pedigree?
It could be. I mean, like, I don't know like how much more exposure they've had to Gundam prior to working on this. I'm sure they must have watched some stuff beforehand. Otherwise, they wouldn't take on this this monolith of a series. Like we talk about like One Piece and Naruto and Bleach, but it's like Gundam is fucking huge.
And
right?
and to give credit where credit is due, Iron-Blooded Orphans, the whole thing is not just 2 cours. It is 4 cours, total of 50 episodes over 2 seasons of 2 cours.
And there's going to be a movie that comes in between as well.
Like how there's no way that you would be able to write something that long and have all the accolades and even the discussions up to that fervor and have it not be good to a certain degree. You know what I mean?
And I think like a lot of people were also like, why did that character make that certain decision? Like you knew that was a stupid thing to do. And like that's the point of this kind of series. Like you have to remember at the end of the day, this is war we're talking about. And logic goes out of the window when people's lives are at stake. It's very, very kind of, I think it's just harsh to look at it and be like, oh, the hero totally didn't win. Or it's like, oh no, that villain is totally not a typical Gundam villain. It's like, yeah, but you're basing it off of all the other Gundam series. And at that point, it's just like, well, why don't we just go ahead and like rank every shonen based on all the other shonens?
So if I were to take the mechas in Iron-Blooded Orphans and made them a generic, not Gundam, basically.
Essentially, if there were no mechas, it would still be the same show.
Right.
I think it's just in the end, like,
or without the Gundam tag.
The mecha, yeah, exactly. It could just be a mecha show that's not Gundam related at all, and I think I would still enjoy it.
And you think that those, you think that those like opinions of, well, a Gundam protagonist won't do that. So then, basically, what I'm trying to say is, their opinions are void if there's no Gundam.
They place too much importance on the ideology that Gundam carries. Like, you know the typical, like the archetypal, the mascot of Gundam,
the idealistic,
the white, the blue,
white knight. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, that's like once you see that, it's like that is the Gundam. Not anything else. That is the one, and it shows up in Iron-Blooded Orphans. And I think that carries way too much weight for some people. Where like if it does something and it goes against their core values, quote unquote, of what they truly believe a Gundam should do, then yeah, I understand why you don't like Iron-Blooded Orphans. Me personally, it's just because of the fact that I haven't watched any other series. I fucking loved Iron-Blooded Orphans. God, there were so many times where it was like, it wasn't like there's a difference between like having a tear-jerking show like Anohana and a show that just puts you in consistent dread and depression, like over the course of not 1, not 2, but like a whole arc, which could be anywhere from 3 to 7 episodes. And fuck, like it played with my emotions all the way through. Yeah, I do agree that the ending was kind of rushed, but that's not different from what I've seen from other anime originals. But I will still add that as a point of criticism. I'm not being like biased or subjective about it. Like it is still something that like I will agree with most people. But generally, like if you go into watching Iron-Blooded Orphans just as a mecha show that's not Gundam, right, or like a war show with mechas in it, you will find a great amount of enjoyment out of it. I really, really enjoyed watching it.
Do you think, and this is speculation now, do you think the fact that it has the Gundam affiliation meant that more eyes would have watched it, and therefore some people would still say, well, it's not Gundam?
It certainly opens it up to more criticism.
But at the same time, it would allow people who are okay with that, oh, they don't act like Gundam, what doesn't represent Gundam, but it's a good show. Do you think that they wouldn't have checked it out otherwise?
Yeah, I think like it's in the end, right? If you have Mobile Suit Gundam at the beginning of your title, you're going to have people look at it and be like, oh yeah, no, totally, I'd be down with this. Why the hell not?
Hey, Kakegurui Twin is the prequel to Kakegurui. Maybe I will check it out because they're related.
Hey, you know what? There's a certain 3D CG anime called Standalone Complex 2045, right? It must be good. It's the same thing, right? Like you and I have talked about it before. 2045, it's a decent anime. It's a shit Standalone Complex entry, though.
Hella shit Standalone Complex entry. But yeah,
that's how I would describe Iron-Blooded Orphans. Not to say that it's shit. I absolutely loved it, but I understand that there are people within the die-hard Gundam fandom that will stand by saying that it was one of the most controversial and most like unappreciated, and it makes sense for some. For me, I'm okay with it. I absolutely loved it. It's a straight 9
for both seasons.
Both season 2 was a 9.5.
Season 9.
Yeah, but I think imagine, right?
Yeah.
7 more seasons. Oh man, the Gundam fandom would be fucking losing their minds and just like smashing at their keyboards. Fuck this shit. We should never
instead of war never changes, war never ends.
Yeah, dude.
Which is also true, by the way.
Yeah. Too much real life shit. Let's not go into it. Yeah, I would give season 1 a 9, a flat 9, because there are areas where like some character development's kind of shit. Things take a little too long. The pacing's kind of off. But overall, it was great. Second season was a 9.5. But because the ending was kind of... I really wish they did a little bit more to the ending. That's why it goes back down to a 9 if I was to put it onto Mal.
Final question before I go into my pickup. My cleanup. Iron-Blooded Orphans. What's the naming... the reason behind the name? Is there an actual reason?
Yes.
Is it spoilery?
It's not... Okay.
No, if you're thinking about it, that means it is potentially spoilery. So there is a reason.
If I say Children of War...
Oh, yeah.
Or Child Soldiers...
Well, yeah.
There you go.
All right.
That should more than enough explain.
Are they carrying an AK-47 with a green rag hood akin to Attack on Titan, but is raggedy?
Oh, they are raggedy as fuck.
Their hair is scruffy.
Dude, some of them don't even have showers.
Right.
It's Mars, dude. There's barely any water on Mars.
I have no context for this, but let's say a Gundam hurts this child soldier's friend next to them, and he undoubtedly just fires indiscriminately and doesn't injure the Gundam, but might have straight hit one of his friends. Gets crushed.
The harshest thing that happens in Iron-Blooded Orphans is not so much what the Gundams or the mechas do to civilians or like to the opposition. It's more what people do to themselves.
Damn.
And that's like that's the part which is like I found it like really hard to grasp with emotionally because Jesus Christ, it was so tough.
Is revenge worth it, Will? I don't even know if someone does that. But I'm just guessing.
You're really running me through the ring of emotions.
I'm like
I'm remembering those episodes when you say the word revenge. And I'm like, oh, it was a really, really emotionally tough watch, but I loved watching all of it.
So now we're moving on to hopefully
finally.
happier things. The Kawai Complex Guide to Manners and Hostile Behavior. Manners being not Manners, but manners as in like the house, the structure manners.
And also hostel as in, like cheap hotels, not hostile as in HOSTILE. I might have like slurred the pronunciation.
But it's
earlier.
a double entendre because this is based on the manga of the same name by Rui Miyahara, who did the story and the art. It is simulpubbed in English by Crunchyroll. Manga of all places. Premiered in spring of 2014, produced by Brainspace. The manga score is 8.15. The anime is a 7.86. Popularity for the manga is 370. Anime popularity is 527 with 356,000 members. So rock solid numbers.
So you were saying earlier double entendre, right?
Mm-hmm.
You care to explain?
So Yusa, or every time I see his name, I just think USA because I'm a dumbass American, is a high school freshman and wants to move out of his parents' home. And they were like, yeah, sure. You just have to choose to live in this hostel that I found that has a great deal. Okay, whatever. Shows up. Turns out that there's a really kudere, and I mean super top tier kudere with purple eyes. That's right, Will.
Wait. We've gone beyond the hair now.
Yep.
Oh, shit. Okay, so this is a genetically superior kudere.
There is something that has been ignited in me when I saw this character. She's a bookworm, which is kind of like neither here nor there, but it still adds to the allure of a kudere. That's like an extra like +1 trait to whatever, to being cool, I guess.
Jesus Christ. Hide your erection, dude. Fuck. That just sounds like a kudere wet dream.
Right. But now let's get to the other residents of this hostel. There is this. There's the landlady who is related to this bookworm girl.
That's a Sumiko, right?
Yes, and the girl in question is called Kawai because her grandfather owns the complex. So Sumiko is kind of just running the show as the landlady. There is a guy that is into BDSM.
I'm reading more about Kawai's biography. Oh, goddamn. She likes cream puffs.
Yeah, she does.
Can't love her anymore. Jesus. Okay.
So,
so there's a pervert as well. Let's not gloss over that.
Pervert and masochist. There is Mayumi, who is an alcoholic office lady that somehow always falls for people who cheats on her. Then there is Sayaka, who is seemingly an innocent college student, but is basically a homewrecker and wears a lot of makeup.
Or she's also down with the BL, too. Heavy down the BL.
Kind of, yeah. Also into the GL in terms of just groping people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's
moving on.
and it's about Yusa's daily life with all these weird eccentric.
So those are all the residents of the Quiet Complex Manor.
Yes, I mean there are new characters that show up but are not residents of the hostel. So the reason why it's called Manors is because people are weird and have different mannerisms and behaviors, as you can hear earlier when I was describing the residents. And Hostel because the kudere also hits people. There is a lot of violence in this, like the slapstick played off, but there is a lot of violence that in real life, people would have been gone to the hospital several times over.
It makes sense with the manga cover now of Ritsu holding her book, but next to her is a kendo sword.
Yes, because in this hostel, there is the common area, then there's the boys section, and then there's the girls section. And in the girls section, which has a solid line to designate this, there are weapons placed periodically every couple of meters that are used to defend themselves, mainly against the people inside the hostel, not people outside. Okay. When I first heard of this show, I was like, whatever. Really. But this is before I saw any of it. And it looked very much akin to another series that I watched called Pet Girl of Sakura So, which is an extremely well-known popular show where it's a bunch of weird eclectic people living in this dorm, and then they bond, and then they go through trials and tribulations. Here, the Kawaii Complex, I'll just say Kawaii Complex from here on out, it is actually less about the drama and the things that happen outside of the hostel, and pretty much most of the show takes place inside the hostel about the inhabitants and the residents of the hostel, and also about the blossoming romance between Usa and Kawai. It is really funny. I was so surprised. I was so ready to write this off. And they break the fourth wall several times. They do things like, I haven't shown up in the first half, and then now I show up in the second half, and you only give me several seconds of screen time. They do all these things that actually is very lighthearted and less on the drama, less on the seriousness, and more just a bunch of adults, and in this case, high school kids, just trying to get along with one another and having a jolly good time. And these character interactions usually is, for example, when they eat dinner, they all eat, in the same room. It's pretty funny because Kawai just ends up reading all the time. Yusa is kind of trying to handle everyone, kind of like Michael Bluth from Arrested Development.
Now you're making me want to watch Arrested Development all over again.
You get the office lady, Mayumi, who just got broken up because she got two-timed. No, she got three-timed. No, sorry.
Wait.
No, sorry. She got two-timed by someone.
Okay.
And then everyone was like, hey, that's an upgrade because last time you got three-timed by someone. So then if you go one more time, then there'll just be the one-timer. Then it's just you. And that's the joke. And That's the kind of humor we're talking about. And then
Jesus fucking Christ.
And then
that's fucking sad.
Sumiko would be talking about like, oh, hey, can you get the laundry for me, to that pervert? And the pervert is like, no. And then Sumiko says, you better fucking get it for me, you pig. And she's like, and then he's like, okay, I'll get it. It's just like, it's just like an odd mix of people that somehow get along together very well. And it's a rather fun time. That really is it.
Did you ever, like, okay, do you know you said earlier that the title itself is a double entendre, right? Do you want to go into the double entendre?
Like Manors?
Because there actually is two meanings to it, right? So, okay, the Kawaii Complex Guide to Manners and Hostile Behavior. That's the English name. The Japanese name is Bokura wa mina kawaiso, which, literal translation, we are all from Dormitory Kawaii. It's a play on words that has a double meaning of, we are all pitiful.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what it is then, right? They are both residents of the Kawaii Complex.
It's kind of like, you know, like the team that's full of the rejects all band together and make a team. And in this case, it's less about insulting their character and as much as they're all just kind of weird, but they're all people too. And they can all have fun and they all have quirks and flaws, but they're all still, at the end of the day, good people. That's really
some of its parts.
Exactly. And the comedy is played very fast and loose, but very well. And it is just a very nice time that I can't really say anything bad about. And I gave it an 8 out of 10. The romance angle could have been developed a little bit better, even though it's extremely obvious what's going to happen. It's just more like
if you know it's there, you might as well make it as good as you can.
Listen,
do you feel like if it falls a bit short on that, then
so as an expert on kudereis, you gotta
push your glasses up a little bit more.
Sorry, hold on. Yeah, you gotta break the shell faster to show the gooey center, my man. Okay, if you spend,
you mean the gooey center?
Your turn.
Already? Okay, all right. So now it's my turn to go into some more happiness after talking about some real depression that is Iron-Blooded Orphans. We're going into my last cleanup of today's episode. You and Me.
Wait, what about us?
Well, me and you. You and me. Actually, to be fair, I'm pretty sure you and I would have been characters in this anime series. So less about you and me and more about you and me. So you and me, also known as Kimi to Boku, is based on the manga of the same name by Kiichi Hota, who did the story and the art. At the moment, there is no official English translation, so just watch the anime. There are currently 2 seasons. The first one was released in fall of 2011, and the second was in spring of 2012. So it actually came out quite quickly after each other. I think just literally 2 seasons apart. Produced by what I would regard as one of the best in the industry when it comes to comedy slice of life, JC Staff. The manga source comes in at an 8.9 for the raw score. Popularity 15.
8.19, not 8.9.
8.19, sorry. And then the first season of the anime is 7.67. Second season, 7.94. So overall, all solid scores. Why is it my favorite cleanup of this season?
Damn.
As much as I loved Iron-Blooded Orphans, there's just something about You and Me. That series was just so good. I think as I was finishing up, I think I watched Endro last out of the 4 cleanups. I started off with You and Me, then other way around. I actually ended with Iron-Blooded Orphans, but I watched Endro beforehand. So that was definitely like a complete 180 in emotions.
If I remember, it was You and Endro first, then You and Me, then Promare, then IBO.
Yeah, something like that.
I
definitely ended with IBO.
I mean, there's crossovers here and there because there's more episodes. Yeah. So, but yeah.
So, Kimi to Boku, also known as You and Me, is a comedy slice of life series that is focused on a group of teenagers. Starts off with 4, then with 5 because there's a transfer student, and then they become a group of 5 really, really, really close teenage friends. And the more I talk about it, the more it just sounds generic. Because it is. It really is kind of generic. It'd be like if I was to say like it's just a group of boys who go through high school and do like daily hijinks. There's a series called The Daily Lives of High School Boys that's literally the same thing, except one is very heavy on the comedy angle, and the other one, You and Me, is very heavy on the slice of life angle. The stuff they do isn't necessarily all that different from the other slice of lives, especially when it comes to like, adolescent growth in terms of like going in from a young child to becoming closer and closer to what you would consider a man, or like post high school. I think most of the time whenever you watch, like the reason why we have so many of these high school based anime series is because you just want to see, youthful exuberance, take on maturity, and then become, a contributing like member of society.
And if you want to hear more about it, you can listen to episode 16 of the Good Anime Palette podcast. You
actually remember which number it was?
Yeah, I know, man.
It was a good episode.
I remember pretty much most of our catalog for some weird fucking reason. But hey,
was there a reason why we made it episode 16 for high school?
Yes, I told you.
Yeah.
It was on purpose. Like, no lie. Like, really. Yeah.
So when are we going to be doing our geriatric episode?
What is the average life expectancy? It's like 80 something?
Depends where you are in the world.
Yeah,
if it's Japan, it's 150, but I don't know.
Look, you and me and you, we'll last the test of time, okay?
It's a really, really sweet anime. And like if I was to like show this to anybody else who is a connoisseur of, slice of life.
So me?
Yeah. You will probably find it okay. You'll be like, yeah, this is cool. This is like a solid like 7.58.
Wait, so you would think that I would put it in a lesser regard than you?
Only because of the volume of slice of life that you've watched.
Ah, okay.
Right? Because you have a lot more to compare it to. But for me, it's like I don't have nearly as much. Even though I'm not saying that like I'm not like a good judge of what a good slice of life is. It's just that I have less experience when it comes to watching this particular genre. It's like if you were to tell me to watch a slice of life before we did this podcast, no, I wouldn't give a shit about it. Even though I, like there's some stuff like Boys Over Flowers and like Hana Yoridango that I really, really, really like.
But they're exceptions, right?
Yeah. Honey and Clover was one of my favorites. But again, this is like, I was watching that when I was in high school. It made sense that I want to watch a high school slice of life. Now, fast forward to my current age, watching it, there really isn't all that much that separates You and Me from the typical like high school boy focused slice of life / comedy. But what was really, really nice about this was that from my own perspective, a lot of the stories, a lot of the interactions the characters had were incredibly relatable for me.
Right.
And that's where it might be a bit different for you because you might not have as much familiarity or relatability to certain characters. You might see certain things and be like, well, yeah, no, like I could see this being a normal thing, but that doesn't necessarily apply to how I was brought up, how I lived life and all that. So, okay, I can appreciate it, but not as much as what others might do. For me, on the other hand, though, like this is where like I guess the bias comes in. A lot of the characters, when you see them talk to each other, when you see them try to build relationships and get to know more about not just their peers, but also themselves, it takes me back to how I was growing up as a high school kid. It really made me feel that this was as, in my opinion, as an objective representation of how I wished like my high school life would have been and could have continued to be. And so that familiarity for me, it just felt very warm.
So is it Inuyashiki? Like healing anime?
It very much is. It's because again, a whole lot of nothing happens.
No drama, no crazy drama at least, right?
And it's like when there is drama, it's very palatable. It's very easy for you to watch and not get too overconsumed by it.
They're just chilled out.
Exactly. It's a very relaxing series to the point where it's like it was actually kind of funny because
like
it was
Yuru Camp relaxing.
Not as fluffy, comfy, relaxing, but it was more just like kids just literally going through one day of their lives in high school and then go to bed, wake up the next episode, they do another day in their high school lives. Fast forward, Christmas episode. Fast forward, Spring Festival episode. That kind of shit.
All right. Will, this is only going to make sense to an extremely few number of people, but I know you will understand what I'm about to tell you, okay? Would you say the anime You and Me is akin to a bunch of international school kids living in Hong Kong wearing uniforms after class taking the minibus down to Aztec to play CS 1.6 while also having siumai and curry.
Wait, it was called Aztec for you? Yours is in Causeway Bay, right?
Yeah.
In that building.
Yeah.
It was called Station 7 for me.
What about was it I
I1,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like just a bunch of kids not necessarily doing anything illegal or crazy or dramatic or whatever. It's just kids being kids.
Or you grab your bikes, you go to the nearest, soccer pitch, and you just sit there with a ball in hand. It's like, wait, aren't you going to go play soccer? No,
it's raining, man.
Yeah, we're just
There's
chilling.
Always hope for tomorrow.
Yeah,
Will.
and you look outside, there's no rain. It's like, exactly. It's like, that's what the show is. It's just like a lot of it is just like as chill as it needs to be, and you just sit back and you're like, okay, I'm super cool with this.
So all of the advertised, first of all, this came from my list, and I wanted to check it out for the longest time, but never really got around to it. I was surprised to hear you tell me that there was elements of romance in it, because for like forever until what you just told me then, all the advertisements were just these four dudes just chilling. They're in the park. They're just like, whoa.
Yeah, this neighborhood is kind of sketchy, huh? No, not at all. Just maybe just a little. Maybe someone was speeding. That's why. But yeah, no. It's not so much that there is a romance element. It's more just when the students grow up, when they start to learn more about how to be in tune with their emotions,
or when they're in high school.
Yeah, it's then not only receiving emotion but also reciprocating it, but not necessarily knowing how to do that.
Right.
And that's where like the romance element kicks in, and I think it's a very beautiful representation of romance, because it's not like, oh, I love you, you love me, but I'm not gonna make the first move. I'm so embarrassed. Oh no, kawaii desu. I don't want to scare him, that kind of shit. No, this is literally like, I think I like you, but I don't know how to tell you.
And what about the other person?
That other person is, I think we're really good friends.
I mean, at some point, the friend zoning lesson has to be taught.
But it's that youthful innocence, right? It's not so much that like, oh, I like you, but as a friend. It's not like that. It's more just like, I actually don't know how to comprehend romantic or love cues. I don't know how to understand those signals. But it's because of the fact that they are just high school kids, learning more about themselves more so than others. Because I hate having to say this all the time, because I feel like I say it a lot. But it's just youthful exploration, self-exploration.
Okay, so as someone who watches a lot of slice of life, I can understand the notion that I might be very enthusiastic or very positive about a certain slice of life, but I would still give it an 8 as opposed to anything higher.
I don't think you would like discredit it immediately and say, "Oh, this is not better than any other one." Typical.
Yeah, it's like in this weird spot, right? I think you understand sort of what I'm trying to get at, right?
I mean, if you were to show me something like super like rough and gory, I'd be like, "Oh, it's cool. It's not quite Devilman Crybaby, but hey, it's like you will inevitably have that inherent bias to certain things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily detract your appreciation from it. You will still like something. It just won't necessarily be your favorite, because, hey, look, the gold standard's always super hard to achieve. It's so hard to achieve, and if it's already been there, it's gonna be really hard to displace it. But I don't say that like you're not gonna appreciate you and me. I think it's like you will enjoy it, but you will then use it and compare it back to some of the stuff you watched before and be like, oh, it's kind of like that, or it's like this. You know?
See. So I would not say it's a bad show. I would just say, oh,
I've seen this before.
So for you, there's like this freshness, this kind of new exploration of youthful exuberance towards the genre.
I reverted back to my like Fresh Prince high school life, and just basically like, you know what, like I'm in a new town, I'm in a new environment, I'm gonna go and enjoy this shit from scratch.
I can't believe we're going to go over 2 hours, but we are probably going to go to 2.5 hours, because my last cleanup is none other than a show that I think is going to cause some problems.
We may not try and go to 2.5 hours, but we will spend a lengthy amount of time. I knew this was going to come.
The reason why I ended it on this one, and thank God I won the rock, paper, scissors, because Inuyashiki Last Hero is based on the manga of the same name by Hiroya Oku, who is the same mangaka who did Gantz. I'm sure when I say Gantz, everyone knows what that is.
As soon as you hear that, it's like, oh, this is what it's all about. Okay, all right.
Inuyashiki is Inuyashiki is published in English by Kodansha Comics. It's finished. The manga series is finished and available by Kodansha. The only season of 11 episodes premiered in fall 2007 and produced by Mappa. Has a manga source score of 7.59, anime score of 7.65. I don't know how to explain the storyline of Inuyashiki, but what I can tell you right now is the context that I know from this mangaka, which is mainly concerning Gantz. Gantz, and also Inuyashiki, is an extremely violent and gory show, manga, anime, all of that.
I mean, I'll just say 2 genre tags, and hopefully it ties the 2 together. Gore.
Yeah.
Body horror.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I have a very soft spot for Gantz because it came at a time when I was really into that sort of thing. And the brutality that came with Gantz, and in many ways, the audacity and the balls to the wall nature of it, followed with all these weird monstrosities and people dying left and right, and this weird 3D style in the manga, made it very impressionable on me. Now, you might say, well, then, Jason, you must put it in pretty high regard. Kind of, if you exclude, the last, quarter. It fell off the rails pretty bad. So, and Gigant, I think, is his latest work, which is also kind of questionable to a certain degree. This guy is very known for shock value. This guy is very known for boobs, butts, blood and gore, and guts. In a way...
That was a very good rhyme, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Rap god, right? It's just kidding. No, not.
Rap Kami-san?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so... I hate Inuyashiki. I fucking hate it. I still gave it a 7. But I fucking hate it.
Well, we start with the things you like about it, and then we can spend half an hour talking about why you fucking hated it. There's got to be something you liked about it, right?
The 3D wasn't that bad. It was pretty good. Genuinely, because the manga and the artist's style is, if you just Google image search it, it's basically 3D art, and if you don't replicate that, it is almost doing the mangaka a disservice. So Mappa did it in such a way that it is 3D, but also made it so it doesn't look like Polygon Pictures in Knights of Sidonia. It actually looks fluid, and some things are rough around the edges, but all the places that needed work has it. Okay? One thing that I will always give Oku credit is his willingness to go all the way with a certain idea or principle or just resolution in terms of plot. And when you think people dial it back, this guy doesn't dial it back. He dials it back just so that it can loop around and go back to the maximum. And Inuyashiki also has that gusto and balls, and not a lot of animes or creators would do that. And I think that definitely deserves special mention.
It definitely takes the violence and absurdity and dials it to 11, right?
Cojones, literally massive cojones to even think about writing, drawing something like that, and then to get Mappa to do it, of all things, of all studios, right? And Oku somehow makes kind of childish, lowbrow humor boobs, butts, nudity, violence, gore, things that you associate with kind of immaturity and savageness. But he makes it in such a way that it's just like, not that. It just makes it really horrendous in a positive way, if I can even say that. Like, it's shock value done very well. It's like orchestrated. I think the part that really is not Oku's strong suit is story. Gantz has no story. And when it tries to have a story, that's when things get fucked. In Gantz, I just want to see people kill things and get killed and just unexpected left field twists and turns. Inuyashiki has a lot of that too. And especially towards the end, the amount of body bags is needed and the amount of, like, if this was a real movie, the pints of fake blood that is needed, yeah, it's impossible. I mean, it is possible, but it's really impossible.
And that's like, I guess, would be like the main allure of the show, right? It's science fiction, body horror, gore, violence, like all to the extreme. But I do agree that if you were to ask me for what the story of Inuyashiki is, I legit do not remember.
I mean, there is a kind of sequence of events, but there is no story. And I like that, actually, because the sequence of events is played out in such a way that there's very little commentary, very little metaphors, or, like, there are, like, obviously certain meanings behind certain things, but it just kind of plays it out in such a plain and straightforward way that you just can't help but be like, yeah, that if I was in that situation, I'll probably do that. Oh, that's really fucked up. Or it's not unbelievable, despite everything that I'm seeing is extremely unbelievable.
Yeah. The way that I saw it, Inuyashiki, is you're playing Grand Theft Auto and you're trying to get 5-star cop rating as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Except one person is the guardian angel and one person is devil incarnate. I'll just say that. My best summation of how I feel about Inuyashiki, I think, is episode 3 or 4, where one of our two male main characters, I'll just say the good guy, deals with a couple. And you spend that whole episode with that couple and the issues that arises that this couple has to face, and the male main character basically standing in to solve and help. And I'm being very loose with the word solve and help because it's really fucked up. But after that episode, and I thought that episode in general, as a standalone episode, was done very well. Then it was never mentioned again. These characters and the shock value, it just is like, forget about what you just saw. Focus on this thing that I'm now putting in front of you. And I'm just like, well, then what's the point of that whole episode? I mean, yeah, it shows a lot of different dimensions and the craziness and the wildness. But really, like what's the point?
Right. I think this is a good part to start getting into the not so good stuff about Inuyashiki. Right? It's a, if you want action, you want blood, like you said, if you want boobs, butts, blood and guts, like, this is the show. But there's also,
if you want that, just watch Gantz or read Gantz. I don't think Inuyashiki is the way to go. That's my opinion. I think there are certain characters where I understand why an author or a script writer or someone would write that in. I'm talking in particular about the quote-unquote love interest for the bad boy. And I'm just like, that makes no fucking sense, bro. I mean, maybe it does, but to me, no, it doesn't. Or at least maybe not to that extent. Maybe in the beginning, right? And the level of just cynicism, pessimism, and just outright human beings are fucking pieces of trash is prevalent since the very, very beginning, first frame of Inuyashiki, Last Hero. And in the beginning, it is super off-putting. In fact, towards the end, when it tries to be more hopeful and have a message, I also think it was utter shit too.
Yeah, that was a pretty terrible ending.
Yeah. All of a sudden, there's a family that the main character, the good guy, is with. And the state that it was in the very beginning of the anime versus at the end of the anime, to me, makes very little sense, even given the extraneous circumstances surrounding this issue. Oh, by the way, the big thing that happens, the big final showdown, that happens. Okay, yeah, I mean, obviously that makes sense. No, we're not done yet. There's this random thing that shows up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden that's the end of everything. And then the way that they solved it was also really stupid, because apparently they thought it was foolproof, but it wasn't foolproof. And then I'm like, why wouldn't it be not foolproof in the first place? Because you should have the capabilities to know it's certain. Also, the person that shows up in front of the TV at a certain point to deliver a certain message, I thought was just so out of nowhere. But okay, fine. I think I know what you're going for. And that is the least of my problems, honestly.
So you already mentioned, right, with Oku and how he is great in terms of pushing boundaries of gore and violence, but not necessarily great when it comes to writing a story. So given your experience of reading Gantz, would you have given a little bit of, I understand why it's like this for Inuyashiki, or do you feel that like, no, this was just really, really bad, I can't really accept what I've seen here?
The issue that I have with Inuyashiki is it tries to have a moral compass. And for me, I love Gantz because there is zero predictability. Characters can show up and then die within the same volume or same episode. And then you will never know what your adversity is, because your adversary is, because literally it can be something that it looks so innocent, or something that just looks like body horror, like Junji Ito's son would come up with this bullshit.
Whereas from the beginning
and of bullshit, I mean good, by the way.
Whereas the beginning of Inuyashiki, you are literally told there is a god and a devil, and therefore there's two interpretations of what this thing in the story
you don't need to tell me that. I can know that. If I don't know that by like episode 3, there is more problems that I need to reassess in my life than being able to discern what this anime is trying to tell me.
What did you think of the sound effects?
Good and bad. There were some that were just like, if this was a Dolby surround sound bass speaker, bumping. Then there are some that is just like, doesn't that sound like Virtual On, that weird joystick mecha game that I played in like the 1990s? It sounds terrible.
What do you think of the sound of those guns? Little finger bangs.
So,
I want to hear your opinion of it too, because I'm kind of like, I don't know where I am with it myself.
So with the finger bang, which just sounds really it sounds really like
childish
to say that, but I thought that encapsulates what I like about Oku, because on one hand, it looks innocuous. It looks like nothing. But then it turns out to be one of the most powerful things, and in some cases, one of the worst things ever. But it just looks like something that is pretend.
Extreme opposites, right?
Yeah. And
something that looks so seamlessly harmless actually ends up destroying and creating so many body bags.
There is a scene where the good guy tries to, let's say, fly. And fly and fly and fly until he reaches a certain height. And then falls back down. That part was basically never addressed again. The whole point of that scene is to show his capabilities, but to go to that extent is unnecessary. And the only thing I can think of is, because it's cool to be edgy, bro. It's cool to push the limits, literally. And I'm just like, yeah, but... Or like, when they're... I'm just like going off, but like, the male good guy has a family, right? And something happens to a member of his family. And that interaction leading up to that was actually has a sense of urgency because time is of the essence. And what ends up happening, I thought would go a certain way, and for all indications, was going to go a certain way. And if it kept going that way, I thought that would have been a very powerful statement. Because what would happen after that could change my opinion of the show completely. But what it ends up doing was psyching the audience out and kind of insulting them for feeling that way in the first place. And almost like tricking them. And somehow I should feel indebted that I'm being tricked. And by the way, the 180 that this character goes through, it was somewhat believable, but that was 0 to 100 real fast.
So overall, pretty good then, huh?
Shiba Inu is dope though.
So okay, you gave it a 7 in the end, but it was like never like in consideration for being like above that, like 7.5, dropped down to an 8.
The only reason why I gave it a 7 was because it is actually competently done. It was actually trying to do something.
Like, it looks good and it sounds good.
For a 3D anime especially, yes. Because up till now, the only thing that I am is a biased Studio Orange enthusiast. So anything that is even...
It's the orange standard.
Yeah. Anything that is even good to me, especially if you consider within the realm of 3D anime, is a huge win, in my opinion. And Mappa definitely did a good job and definitely used the camera angles that a regular 2D animation cannot do. That is akin to Orange, but not all the way. The show just made me really mad. Really. Like, it was... But then there was enough such that I couldn't let it go. And because I know you wanted to talk about it, so I was like, not only should I give credit where credit is due and watch it because I know Will and I would want to talk about it, but because maybe I'm wrong. And it turns out that the only thing that I was wrong was assuming that there would be a change, in my opinion, after episode 4.
Still gave it a 7, though. Right? 7s are good.
Because I can't give it a 6.
Because it wasn't like a complete waste of time, right? Like, it wasn't like you didn't find any enjoyment out of it. You actually sat and it's like, oh, animation quality is done pretty well. If we're just talking from like a violence, like visual perspective, it's actually incredible. But if you're looking for story here, if you're looking for sensibilities and logic here, this is not the place to be, guy.
Yeah, like I think the beginning episodes of Gantz is very akin to the middle part of Inuyashiki. And I think that was at its strongest. In the beginning, it was too heavy-handed, too kind of edgy and in-your-face and controversial. And towards the end, it tries to tell a story or tell a message when everything preceding it is doing none of that. And that, to my opinion, is not Oku's strong suit. And Mappa's doing the best that they can. It is a very well-done anime, though. I just think it's total garbage.
Yeah. I think in the end, it's like, if it's sensibilities you want, then this is the wrong place to be. If you just want to like turn off your brain and enjoy some silly like gut spilling bloody shit, then yeah, this is probably something you should check out.
I mean, in the pantheon of animes, I think there are 3 finger bangs that are top 3. The first one would be Chainsaw Man. The second one would be Cowboy Bebop. And the third one will unfortunately have to be Inuyashiki. So, at least there's that.
Hey, look, it's not like you're downright saying like this is a fucking like terrible anime. You just have a lot of issues with it. And that's completely fair.
I'm sorry. I actually think it's a terrible anime.
You still give it a 7, though.
I did.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing I can do about that because I legit won't give it anything lower, anything higher.
7 is the place it's going to be. I mean, to be fair, I mean, like I gave it an 8. You gave it a 7. General consensus is it's somewhere in between. It's a 7.6, I think. 7.5 Yeah, 7.65. Manga 7.59. So it is splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah. So this is my final sentence for Inuyashiki. I am glad that I watched it, just so that I can tell people I watched it and I know for a fact how shitty it is. And that is the end of our episode number 40 for Anime Cleanup number 3. Will, you can think of a good insult or a crazy comeback after I go through the housekeeping.
Why am I insulting you?
I don't know.
You're giving a 7 to a show that you absolutely don't like. That's funny to me.
No, because yeah, I know, because from an objective standpoint, there's a lot of things that other animes do really badly, and this one is good. I just think the things that I cared about,
it's the things that were really bad were extremely, really fucking bad, and for you that's unforgivable.
Yeah. So, but
you're giving credit where it's due, essentially.
Yeah, basically.
You're not just saying that it looks like garbage, because it does look good.
Endro is a terrible show, but if you're into that, okay, it's your thing, fine. And without it, it's kind of, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I kind of understand why it's the lollies in there, but man, why you have to make it in the first place?
And then Inuyashiki is the censor. It's I get why you want to make it gory and bloody, but why do you want to try and do this whole god complex thing? Why do you want to try and do this whole evil versus good kind of thing when it really doesn't matter at all?
Yeah, and also, by the way, the good guy, if you think about it, is not necessarily a good person either, but he's somehow made out to be.
Because in comparison to the bad guy,
yeah,
right?
I mean, also that's fair, but also the bad guy. In fact, the very end, the last line that he says, to me, is the best line of the entire anime. And I don't know if you remember what he says, but I thought yeah, duh. But if we're going by Inuyashiki logic, wow, bro.
So
for real. And you can always reach us through our email, gapalette@gmail.com. That's GAPALETTE@gmail.com. All lowercase, all one word. You can also talk about your god complexes with us on Twitter using the handle @PaletteGood. That's capital P and capital G, all one word, or through our GAP Discord server using the invite link in the show description. If you like blue or red, please tell us in the Discord server. Will knows what I'm talking about. If you like pinball, especially too, kind of. The OP is actually good, though. The OP for Inuyashiki is rock solid, I have to admit. Music credits for this episode. Actually, wait. Will, did you know we have a website?
Yep, we do.
And we encourage you to check it out. You can visit our website, www.goodanimepalette.com, all lowercase, all one word. Music credits for this episode. Our intro music is Ninth Power by Henyao. Our break music is Salamanca by Sarah the Illstrumentalist. And our outro music is Golden Rules by Luax. You can support the music artists we feature by listening to them on Spotify, Apple Music, or other various music listening platforms. And our royalty-free music was provided by Epidemic Sounds. And if you're interested in using Epidemic Sounds, you can sign up using our referral link in the show description to get 10% on your first 12 months and the first 30 days of your subscription for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Certainly had a pretty good mix of stuff we watched for this. Gotta watch them for this anime closet cleanup. I have to admit, 3 out of the 4 shows, really, really enjoyed. I really like You and Me. I really, really, really like Iron Blood Orphans, but I have to give, a little more props to You and Me. Endro being the one where just
I mean,
yeah. But my issues with Endro are similar to your issues with Inuyashiki.
No. Do not put it in the same realm.
Lollies. I will, because there is there is a place for people who enjoy that stuff, and it's not like I'm trying to validate them. I'm not trying to give them
you're
pass.
Just stating a fact.
It's just that this is just the state of affairs.
I mean, some people are into certain things. That's why people make and produce works of that genre, and that's why people consume it, and it makes money, and people make more of it because there is an audience.
It's like in the same way where you were saying that I hate the lolly angle of Endro, but without it, what's the point of watching Endro? It's in the same way for you watching Inuyashiki. It's I don't understand why they would use this whole god complex thing in a series that's just about blood and gore, but if they didn't have it, then it kind of feels like there's not much else to it. You're better off just watching Gans. Yeah, like I feel like it's not so much that like we hated watching. Okay, maybe you did hate watching Inuyashiki. I really disliked watching Endro, but watching it, you at least understand like why this exists. It's just that it's not necessarily our thing. But to people who are listening, maybe this works for you.
And that's why we have the anime cleanup, because how can you have a conversation involving mechanized grandpas, a bunch of high school boys doing high school boy things but are not comedic, are just chilled out,
and a
Tanukis,
and a Demon Lord Lolly wearing a two-piece.
And
that was not cool.
And just your regular brand of shoujo romance. Only available at GAP Anime Closet Cleanup.
Catch us every Tuesday or Wednesday, whichever time difference you're
in. Or no, Monday. It would be Monday for certain people because it's our Tuesday.
You're right.
That's right. So that is it for us. Now,
so it took you half an hour. It only took you 20 minutes to talk about how terrible Inuyashiki was. That's not bad. 20 minutes. Get this succinct. 30 minutes, though. I feel like you might have actually been like throwing shit around the room.
The police is here to take you away, bro.
All right. Well, I guess I'm going to have to go into this police van. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Peace.